Hi, I'm Mike Sargent, and this is Arise on Screen.
Freeze! Nobody move! Shoot!
She lost her job, her man, and her car, all in the same day. Now, Tammy needs to get away. But will traveling with her grandmother make things worse? Melissa McCarthy, Susan Sarandon, and Kathy Bates lead an all-star cast in the new comedy, Tammy.
I want to make records with you. Come on, let's get out of here. You're going to have to get these beers, though.
Dan Mulligan is a disgraced record label exec, and Greta has been jilted by her now famous ex. She's got the raw talent, he's got the experience. Together, they just might change each other's lives. Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley star in Begin Again.
For me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy. It lets you understand hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears.
Pulitzer Prize-winning film critic Roger Ebert changed the way we watch movies. Now moviegoers get to watch a movie about him. I talked to his widow Chaz Ebert and Oscar-nominated director Steve James about Life Itself, the new documentary chronicling Ebert's amazing life. All this and more on Arise on Screen.
Hello, I'm Mike Sargent, and welcome to Arise on Screen, your global home for films both on screen and behind the scenes. First, let's get to it. In movie news,
it's 5 against 300.
We never run before. Why are we going to run now?
Brad Pitt is back in Army fatigues in Fury. Just as World War II is winding down, exhausted Army Sergeant War Daddy, played by Pitt, must lead his 5-man crew on a deadly mission behind German enemy lines. Pitt's crew in this action drama includes Shia LaBeouf and Michael Pena. Fury hits theaters in November.
Hey!
The action thriller Cold Harbor is filled with twists and turns and stars Tony Karoge as an ambitious South African cop who uncovers a smuggling scheme while investigating a triad murder. For Tony Karoge, seen as Nelson Mandela's bodyguard in Invictus, this role in Cold Harbor marks his first lead role in a South African feature film and his transition to an action hero.
I belong to the front. You belong to the tail.
Snowpiercer is a train with strict laws. 1,000 passengers know their place until a group, led by a barely recognizable Chris Evans, decide to revolt. The post-apocalyptic thriller pits the haves and the have-nots against each other while on a speeding train. Who will survive? South Korean director Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer opens this weekend.
Are there any dangerous animals in this area?
Such as?
Lions.
No.
In The Good Lie, Academy Award winner Reese Witherspoon plays a workaholic Carrie Davis who agrees to help a group of 4 Sudanese refugees survive their new lives in the U.S. After winning a lottery to come to the United States, the foreigners learn a few lessons and end up teaching Carrie a thing or two about life. The Good Lie opens this fall.
You want to go kill Kim Jong-un?
Totally. I'd love to assassinate Kim Jong-un. It's a date.
And finally, turns out North Korea isn't laughing at the new movie trailer for the comedy, The Interview. Co-producers and stars Seth Rogen and James Franco play assassins whose target is Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. The North Korean government called the film an act of war and issued a statement threatening to attack the USA if the film is released later this year. Really gives a new meaning to bombing at the box office.
Today I'm joined by film critics Justine Browning and Arise Entertainment contributor Jack Rico, editor-in-chief of ShowBizCafe.com. But before we get to the reviews, there's a new documentary, Life Itself, about film critic Roger Ebert, and it comes out this weekend. So my question to both of you is, what do you think Ebert meant to film criticism, and what do you think his legacy is? I'll go to you first, Justine.
Well, Bobby Rivers, our frequent co-host, pointed out the fact that critics now write for each other. Mm-hmm. And he was very much someone who was about the passion that he had for film, and he liked showcasing that. And he approached reviews with positivity. He wasn't about
I agree.
cutting
He didn't have a personal
films
agenda.
down.
I agree with you.
Right. He didn't tear people apart. It was about the love of cinema. And that's what I think he brought to the industry.
I think he brought that. And what about you, Jack?
You know, I always thought that before Roger Ebert really came into the landscape, criticism was just sort of a recommendation just for your night out. And what he converted sort of the film criticism universe was into an art form. And once you started sort of delving into his writing, what I always loved about him was he used sort of culture and pop culture, intertwining movies and kind of making points, all while sort of informing you what was happening with movies. So I think he sort of reinvented the film criticism.
I did, and I think what he did is what most people who love movies can do. Talking about movies is just as entertaining sometimes more so than the movie itself.
I agree.
And I think that's part of what he brought to it, and he never played down to the audience.
For over 40 years.
That's it.
Never lost
well, we get to do our Roger Ebert here today. And we'll be right back.
Coming up.
Give me some pies. Give me some of the good pies. No screwing around.
That's your finger, though.
Is it?
Tammy is having a bad day. She lost her job, totaled her car, and caught her husband cheating. It's time to get out of town. But will traveling with her crazy grandmother be worse? Melissa McCarthy and Susan Sarandon star in the hilarious new road comedy Tammy, next on Arise on Screen.
Tammy, I'm terminating your employment at Topper Jacks, and I need your badge.
What badge? You mean my name tag?
Yes, exactly. I need your badge. I need your badge
It's not
back.
a badge, it's a name tag, and you made me buy it with my own money.
That's company policy. I need it back.
Well, I need you to stop sweating through your shirts and grossing everybody out.
Melissa McCarthy, Susan Sarandon, Dan Aykroyd, and Kathy Bates all star in the ultimate dysfunctional family road trip movie, Tammy. McCarthy talked about writing her first movie with her husband.
The whole process of making it and seeing it from the start all the way to the end was so wildly fun. Like, it was just, I don't know, like every day I thought I would be more nervous, or I thought maybe we'll be tense because it's our first movie. Throw improvising in there and you don't even know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth.
Welcome back to Arise on Screen, and unfortunately I think she had more wild fun making this movie than anybody in the audience will going to see it. And I will say this is one of these movies where you've got a fantastic cast. Susan Sarandon, Dan Aykroyd, Melissa McCarthy, Allison Janney, all these lines. And the movie is so flat and tries so hard to be funny as opposed to really letting the story go somewhere that it... And I think you both agree with me, unfortunately, but you felt that there was only not much value, but you did like some of the supporting characters.
Well, absolutely. I think you just want it to be good so badly, and you do give it a chance. After Bridesmaids, which she was nominated for an Oscar for, Melissa McCarthy, there was this thing in Hollywood called the Bridesmaids effect, where producers were starting to consider more women in lead roles and women over a certain age, and allowing them to be funny and be put in situations where they didn't necessarily have to be vain or anything like that. That's why a film like this and The Heat and Identity Theft, all films that were very successful that she was in, you really want to get behind. But unfortunately, it just doesn't come together. The name of the film is Tammy, and we don't really even get a sense of who this person is.
Well, not only that, I have to say, there were very few characters, if any, that I even liked in this movie. Now, you made a very interesting point, Jack, and I agree with you, because I think it's one thing, I think comedic actors can go on to be some of the best dramatic actors, and she shows that. The few scenes of drama, while they're misplaced, they're powerful, they move.
Right. You know, as I was watching this, it's a story of two tales. It's if you're going to judge as a comedy, Tammy was just flat. I just feel that it didn't produce the amount of laughs. It wasn't original. It didn't push the limits of comedy in any way. It was just average, you know, modest and ordinary. But when you look at it,
less than average, maybe.
Yeah, probably a little less than average. But when you start looking at the drama in those moments where she was crying, or there was a moment that she had to give some sort of emotional heft, that is when the movie came alive. That's where she and her acting came alive. And then immediately I started thinking, her next film cannot be a comedy. Her next film needs to be a drama. And then I started sort of paralleling Robin Williams' career and sort of Jim Carrey's career, where they left comedy and moved into drama. I think, and I'm willing to say this on this show, If she were to do a drama in her next outing, I think she is so good at being emotionally powerful
and vulnerable.
She could start getting Academy Awards like she has before in comedy, but for drama.
I agree. Well, you know, comedians are some of the bravest actors there are. So, you know, and I had never seen her in anything till this movie called The Nines. And she was so good in that movie that I instantly became a fan. All right, we're going to move on. Our next movie is Earth to Echo. It's sort of a blend between the movies Explorers, E.T., and Stand By Me. It's about 3 boys who discover an alien life form who just wants to go home.
Pen caps. Clear.
Wait, I don't get it. How's it sophisticated? It's kind of just like spin caps.
I got it.
Be careful. His legs are fragile.
Whoa. Get this. Are you getting this? Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
So you can't fly, but you can float.
I like this movie. And you know, you made a very interesting point, Jack, that this is a movie that takes, you know, scenario, like I said, it's a blend, and it definitely has some of that Spielberg DNA in it. But it does it as a found footage film. And found footage at this point has evolved to in the genre, and it's a method of storytelling itself. And I agree with that. And I thought that this worked because while we're familiar with this type of story, we really didn't know where it was going to go. And it actually took some turns that I didn't expect. So now you found that to be pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, you know, it was the ending was very unexpected. And the thing is, unfortunately, we live in an era in filmmaking in Hollywood today where the trailers, almost 95% of them are completely misleading. You think that this movie is about the little character Echo when it's really about these boys. And it's their friendship and it's the journey that takes place. There's barely any CGI effects in the film. It's really about the kids' improvisation, which is the reason that you needed to get a good cast of kids. And I thought they were pretty convincing in this film. And ultimately, I thought that they did portray sort of a sense of 1980 Steven Spielberg sort of homage.
Well, you felt similar, but you actually liked the use of the found footage. You thought it worked for the story more than...
Children aren't used to seeing that used over and over again. It was used in, you know, the Paranormal Activity films and more adult horror films, and then a film called Chronicle, a high school set action film, which it kind of reminded me of, but for kids. And I think it took from Stand By Me and E.T., a lot of those 80s movies, like you said, where it's very family-friendly. But again, yes, you don't know where it's going. And it's been kind of commended for being a child empowerment film, where the kids are making their own choices and they're working together. And
it's something of a coming-of-age film. Well, I would say if I had any real criticism of it, I felt that the characters were very much the stock kid characters. You know, there's the fat kid, the smart kid, the black kid. And while I liked that they had the black kid narrate, he was incredibly annoying. I have to say.
But he was there, and that's something that doesn't even happen
half the time. That's a big step. So we're going to move on, and we'll be right back.
One of the most brilliant, weird, and unusual American documentary films I've seen in a long time.
Up next, he was the most influential film critic of all time. The new Roger Ebert documentary, Life Itself, gets my thumbs up. Opening in theaters this week, I talked to Ebert's widow, Chaz, and documentary director, Steve James, here on Arise on Screen.
Unusual American